welcome back all to my recount. After the devouring incident, Rodgers and Stuart would do more detective cases, but one of their cases would inevitably attract the SCP Foundation's attention. The devouring incident had already attracted the SCP Foundation's attention, so of course the SCP Foundation would start to keep an eye on Rodgers and Stuart without them knowing. They were going to a house to investigate a mysterious ghost that appeared to be a security guard in appearance. Another agency had Detective Jack, who would eventually become under the same banner of Rodgers' agency, and Rodgers and Jack would end up being friends and allies who would work together, were still in separate agencies at this point. They would have to work on a case together. I was working with the IOTA 10 at the time to make certain that everything was fine, but we definitely had suspicions on Rodgers from the last case, the devouring incident. So as we did, we were outside the place, listening in, seeing if something was going to go right, and something did. Stuart would soon get injured by this ghost, and Rodgers would leave Jack to continue to investigate the mysterious household, while Rodgers went with Stuart to the hospital, and the SCP Foundation obviously followed. And at the hospital, I would pose as a security guard, obviously not the typical security guards because of gear, so more of a police officer, but still. In the doctor's room, the doctor was going to heal up Stuart, but Rodgers decided to stab several needles into Stuart, thus killing them, and it would seem like it'd be the end for Stuart, but something strange happened. A few days later, there had been a report of a mysterious ghost-like figure appearing in a town. At the time, I was in possession of the Book of Truths after releasing it against SCP Foundation protocol, so I should have done that, but did it anyway. Anyway, soon me and the Book of Truth would find Rodgers investigating this area. Again, I was still pretending to be a police officer. And then we found someone, and Rodgers immediately knew who it was. It was Stuart, back from the dead. And it seemed like Stuart had become sort of a half ghost similar to Rodgers, and thus concluding that these two were definitely SCPs. And I had already been in violation for freeing a safe SCP, even though it was my choice. I did it freely because I think safe SCPs should be free, but it was still breach of protocol, and so what I did in that moment would be the worst and best choice of my life. I would detain Rodgers and Stuart and take them to this very facility I am right now. Well, it's not actually the same one, it's a recreation of the one I later destroyed with a helicopter I stole here, which was that big one over there, and blew this whole place up. But you might already know of this. But I would contain them, taking them through this area, heading down to the research zone down to the cell area so they could be contained with the Book of Truth. I trade the deal with the Book of Truth that was going to work with me because I was suspicious of it because I remembered a book SEP was the one that cursed me when I was young. So I thought it might be the same book. But yeah, again, I now know the Book of Lies is the one that I need to truthfully find. But they were contained in these cells, but the Book of Truths would try to free them, somehow escaping its containment, and the Book of Truth, Rodgers and Stuart soon try to escape. I obviously, as an SCP guard, chased them out here, trying to detain them. And then I realized something. If I really wanted to try and free safe SCPs, I've got to stick to it. So eventually, I was like, you know what, Stuart and Rodgers, I'm not going to detain you. Let's get out of here and steal a helicopter. And that was the very day the Foundation would begin to want us captured. And it would be the very day that I began my bad blood with the SCP Foundation, which soon kind of spiraled out of control, killing the O5, and soon we'll be dealing with the Ethics Committee, which is going to be a pain, and you know, there's not going to be a future, but that accounts on how Stuart came half ghost, my initial time with the Book of Truth, which eventually the Book of Truth would leave us after heading to, I think it was a Starbucks or coffee shop, weirdest thing to do after just escaping a Foundation site is heading to a coffee shop, and I beat up a cop and stole their uniform, kind of something I should have done, but I needed to conceal my identity for a while, so I stole their stuff, and soon the Book of Truth would leave us, and we would soon find ourselves working with Detective Jack again. Soon we would be entering the realm of noir, but that is for next time.